Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about drugstore makeup. So in my makeup bag, it's full of drugstore goodies. I wanted to do a full face all drugstore products in here. I get a ton of questions from my friends. What are some really good drugstore makeup products? And I also realized that not everyone has a massive collection. Like me, you really don't need a massive collection like me. If anything, this makeup bag like isn't even full, so you could get more stuff. Some of these products are like tried and true favorites, and some of them are newer favorites. Some of them I've mentioned a bunch of times on my blog, and some of them not as much. So anyways, let's get into it. And if you're curious, my makeup bag is from Forever 21. Rip. Also, please excuse the fact that I have like the Bermuda Triangle going on here. Okay, up first we're going to use this Revlon primer. This is the Revlon PhotoReady Prime Plus Brightening Plus Skin Tone Evening Makeup and Skincare Primer. Holy, this is a really long name. Anyways, this is a real good brightening. It's a really good brightening primer. I think just using a moisturizer is really helpful for priming your skin, but this kind of just adds some glowiness. So there you go. As you can see, my skin is so much glowier. So yes, if you have dry skin, I would definitely recommend putting on your moisturizer right before you do your makeup. But this kind of just adds that glowiness that you might not necessarily get from a moisturizer. If you have oily skin, you don't have to worry too much because you know you don't necessarily need the extra hydration. This just adds the glowy dewiness, but putting on a matte foundation over top can really bring it down because it actually dries down pretty, like there's a little bit of tackiness, but it dries down pretty well. Okay, next we're gonna go in with concealer. I've been really liking doing my concealer before my foundation. So this is the NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop concealer. And I think it does a pretty good job of helping cancel out your darkness under your under eyes, but it's not like too thick and heavy for everyday wear. So just like so, we're also gonna put some on our friends down here. If you're looking for a good drugstore sponge, sorry mine is filthy, but this is a Real Techniques blending sponge and it's pretty good. What I like about it is that it has this pointed tip that's really good for getting in your under eyes, and then you also have the flat part that's good for doing your foundation. And then because, you know, this is a drugstore kit, you don't necessarily need an eyeshadow primer. I would just take the leftover concealer on your eyelids. Like so. See, it just helped kind of cancel out any of the redness or veininess. So as you can see, it just kind of really helped brighten up everything and cancel any tones that you have, so any blueness under the eyes, and help some of the redness. Not all of it. I could really spot conceal if I wanted, but I'm gonna go in with foundation over top, so I'll spot conceal more if I want to after my foundation. I will say foundation is the one area that I definitely want to try more drugstore ones, but for today I'm going to be recommending the Wet n Wild PhotoFocus. I have both a dewy and a matte finish, so the nice thing is that you can pick which finish that you want. Honestly, both are pretty good. You can even mix the two and have a little bit of a hybrid. Today I'm going to be going in with the dewy one. I like this one because it has a pretty buildable coverage, so you can really sheer it out and only apply a little if you want, or you can also build it up. And I think that's really good for a drugstore makeup kit because you want something that's versatile that you can use depending on your mood. So I'm going to be mixing two shades together just because I'm kind of in between the two. We have the shade Nude Ivory as a lighter one, and Buff Bisque is a darker one. This has a spatula. I was gonna say spatula, which fun story. I can't even remember the story, but my grade 8 French teacher told us the story about how she called a spatula spatula. If any of my friends are watching this, please let me know what the full story is. But anyways, because of that, now I always just say spatula. And the thing with foundation too is the way that you blend it in will really make a difference. So if you want a really full coverage look, using a brush is going to help versus a sponge kind of helps absorb some of that excess product. So it's going to have it a lot more smoother, less cakey, and less coverage. So I kind of just smoosh it all around. Okay, here is the base. So as you can see, I kind of just evened out all of my skin tone. You can still see some of the redness and texture, but like honestly, like that's just life. That's just having acne. Like sure, I can really try and painstakingly conceal it, but like, it's just a part of my face. So I think it's just easier just to accept it and move on with it than focus too much on it. But yeah, as you can see, the combination of that primer is really what's giving us that glow, but the foundation helped even more. A foundation on my lips. And I think this is great for everyday wear because, you know, yes, it looks like I'm wearing makeup, but it's not like I'm wearing a full mask. And I think this is a perfect base for everyday wear. You're concealed, but you're still looking dewy, healthy, glowy. Okay, up next we're gonna go on with bronzer. I have a cream bronzer. Now, normally I would say butter bronzer all the way. That is definitely one of the best drugstore bronzers there is, but I do want to give a slightly different recommendation just to change it up. So we're gonna go in with the Physicians Formula Sculpting Bronzer Stick. This is their dewy bronzer. So I've mentioned this before that it's not as good as like say the Milk Makeup one, but it's pretty good for a drugstore cream bronzer. It does the job. And I always like to put a little bit on my nose because that's just where the sun naturally hits. And actually I like to bring my bronzer pretty far in because as you can see I got pretty big cheeks, so it kind of just helps define it a little bit more. Plus I like having my bronzer and blush really blend in. And I think cream products are really great for everyday wear just because they look a lot more natural, creamy, dewier. As you can see, bronzing the skin really just brings so much more life and dimension into the face. If you're trying to do your makeup quickly, you might think, oh, let me just skip this step, but as you can see, it really does make a difference of making your face just look so much more natural and healthy. Now that we're done with all the cream products, we're gonna set the face. Now, if you have really dry skin, you probably don't want to set your face very much. You want to keep that glowiness that we built in, but if you're like me and have oilier skin, you're really going to want to set it, otherwise it's going to slip and slide and crease. And also it definitely feels a little tacky, not too bad, so just putting a light brush, a powder, will help with that tacky feeling. We're gonna go in with one of my favorites. This is one of the first powders that I ever bought. This is a Maybelline Fit Me powder. This is their matte and poreless. And I have the pressed powder. They do have a loose one, but I just like this pressed one a lot more just because it's compact and it's easier to use. So there's so many different ways you can set your face. So I'm going to use a brush, but you can also use a sponge as well. First, I'm going to use a smaller, denser brush. I'm going to put that underneath the eyes. And the key is to not go too far out. You would think, oh yeah, let me just do that whole entire under eye triangle. But if you go too far out, you're gonna cover that beautiful natural glow. So I'm really just gonna put it underneath. And I feel like you can see the difference of like how I just mattified this area. I also like to do around my nose as well and in between my brows. And I also like to put a good amount on my chin, especially if you concealed any acne. It's really good to powder that area. That way those cream products don't move around. And now that I went and set the areas of my face that really need it, now with a nice fluffier brush, I'm going to really lightly dip in. Just tap it off. You can even brush it on your hand. And just lightly set the rest of the face. Once again, avoiding that natural creamy area. Okay, up next we're gonna go in with blush. I love blush. It just brings a new dimension to the face. And I know that we kind of use foundation to kind of hide the redness, but now we're gonna put it where we want it exactly. So a new favorite of mine is this Burt's Beat blush. This is in the shade Fresh Apricot. The blushes are quite pigmented, so just go in with a light hand. So we're just gonna boop, 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 boop. See how much I already got? And we're gonna do the classic smile. I'm gonna start at the front of the cheeks and slowly bring it back. I always like to put a little bit on the nose as well, because once again, the sun naturally hits your nose, so that part of your face is going to be a lot deeper and darker than the rest of your face. So now we are looking very naturally flushed, dewy, and glowy. Now honestly, that primer did such a good job at making us dewy that we don't even really need a highlight, but if you still wanted one, I would highly recommend the Essence PureNude. This just has such an interesting consistency, like it's not your typical highlighter. Okay, ready? As you can see, it just gives a lot more natural of a sheen than like a blinding highlight, because for everyday use you don't necessarily want something that's like, whoa, blinding, like a stripe on your face. Instead, you just want it to be naturally incorporated with everything else. So we're just gonna take just a little bit of this, tap the excess, and you want to be really strategic where you put this. Instead of going back and forth, instead we're just gonna lightly tap it. Just right here. Oh my god. I still have purple on my brush, so it's kind of looking purpley, but oops. Here. That way from the side you can really see it, but up front you really don't see it that much. And you can also just put, I like to put a little bit in here, like the brow bone, and I'll do it both underneath and over top. Since we haven't done our brows yet, you can go through it, no issue. Okay, now that our base is done, we are going to be setting it. We're going to be using one of my favorite setting sprays, like Drugstore and high-end. This is one of my favorites. This is the NYX Dewy Finish Setting Spray. It just helps make all your powders melt into your face, make you look dewy. So if you had gone a little bit too heavy-handed with your powder, it'll kind of help melt everything. We're gonna have fan. And I'm pretty sure I've said this before, but using a sponge and pushing it into your face after you've set your makeup just kind of helps push everything in and make it last longer. So look at that base. I think we're looking pretty good, and no one would know it's from the drugstore. I'm very proud to have a brow pencil. Usually in my drugstore videos I don't have a brow pencil, but this is the NYX Professional Precision Brow Pencil in the shade Espresso. So I'm gonna do my brows real quick and then I'll come back to do the eyes. Okay guys, the brows are done. I like it, it's bold brow. It matches my hair pretty nicely. I've usually been skipping eyeshadow on the everyday. I don't think I necessarily need it, but also I find that drugstore eyeshadows, a lot of them are pretty mediocre, and that if there's anything that I think you should splurge on, like I think an eyeshadow palette's a pretty good one, because it's something that you can get a lot of use out of, then it doesn't necessarily expire as quickly. But if you do want a drugstore eyeshadow palette, I've mentioned this many times, but the Wet n Wild eyeshadow palettes are pretty good, and this one is Rosé in the Air. I like this one because there is a range of shadows, and I know you would think, oh my god, there's some really bright colors in here, but I will say that this shade is actually pretty nice for everyday, just like all over the lid. And I also think this is a good, like, you might not use this for everyday, but then that's kind of a good thing, is that you can use this palette for everyday but also more intense looks kind of thing. But anyways, I'm just gonna take a big fluffy brush. As you can see, this one's pretty big in comparison to, like, say this one. It's a lot denser, and yes, it's dirty. So we're gonna take my big fluffy brush, we're gonna go into that transition shade, and we're gonna put this all over. We're even gonna go on the lid. We're just gonna do a nice simple matte look. As you can see, it just adds just a little bit more depth and definition to the eyes. There we go. I think that's all you need for every day. And you can even take a little bit of the highlight and just put it on the center of your lid if you want something a little bit more sparkly. Okay, up next is mascara. Now this is technically, well, this is cheating. This eyelash curler is from Pure, which is technically available at Shoppers, but I don't think it's the cheapest. But anyways, you can also get cheap, relatively cheap eyelash curlers from Sephora, but I do really think that curling your eyelashes makes a difference no matter what mascara you end up applying. It was something I like didn't do, and then I started doing it, and then it made such a difference, and I was like, why did I never do this before? It can seem a little scary to curl your eyelashes, but you get used to it. Like, see? Do you notice a difference? See, I curled this side. Even just curling my lashes makes a difference. So that's something really good for like a no makeup days, or literally no makeup days, is that you can even just curl your eyelashes and it'll help you look more awake. Our mascara for today, this is a Covergirl Exhibitionist mascara. I barely hear anyone talking about this, but this is such a good mascara. This is a really good dupe for the Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara. I'll show you the wands. They're like almost identical. Now I will say I'm not a huge fan of the wands. I do find it a little annoying to use. See? They're like identical, almost. I will say that the wand is a little tricky to use. I find that these wands are really easy to get on your lid. Accidentally get mascara on your lid. Just be careful, and that's why sometimes it's nice to not wear any eyeshadow, because then if you accidentally get mascara on your eyelid, then you can just wipe it off. Anyways, I like this one because it is volumizing and it's black, and I think when you're doing everyday makeup, it's really nice to make an impact with your eyelashes, because it just makes your eyes look way more awake, and it's a lot faster to do than doing eyeshadow. I get cat hairs and all of my mascaras. Like, how does this happen? Does this happen to anyone else? If you ever do get mascara on your eyelid, you can use a spoolie and just scrape it off. So here is the mascara, so you can see the difference. It just adds so much volume and length, which I really like, a hybrid in between the two. There we go. Nice fluttery lashes. And now to finish off the look, we're going to go in with one of my new favorite lipsticks. This is the Burt's Bees. The Burt's Bees Satin lipstick. I really like this formula because it's a satin, so it's not as drying or uncomfortable as, say, a matte, but it also still has pigmentation similar to a matte. So I think this is a really pretty shade. So there we go. And what I also liked about these Burt's Bees lipsticks is that they had so many different colors. So if you don't like this one is in the shade Blush Basin. So if you don't like this one, then you can get a different shade that you think you'll like and wear every single day. So here we go, guys. Here is the finished makeup look. I think this is perfect for everyday wear, where it's dewy, it's glowy, I look radiant, and you know, we got a little bit of stuff going on in the eyes and the lips, but it's not too bold or dramatic. I think this is something that you could wear easily every single day and be happy with your makeup, but also slightly tweak it a bit. You know, you can increase the coverage of either foundation. If you use the eyeshadow palette, you can totally change up your look and go from daytime to nighttime. So please let me know. I can always do a version of this, but do like a full glam, you know, even lashes. I have really good drugstore lashes, so I can do a full glam beat if you want, using only drugstore makeup. Let me know if that is something you guys are interested in the comments. So I hope you guys liked this makeup tutorial / product chat. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more makeup content. I also talk about books. I'm doing Vlogtober right now. So that is it for today, guys, and I hope you have a good day. Bye.